Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're finally going to get a chance to look at the Asus Z97 Maximus 7 formula, or as I seem to keep calling it everywhere in the written review and online and stuff, the M7F. Now, I've got the Watch Dogs version, but the normal version without the game is going to come in at around £240 depending on the e-tailer, and that's at the time of going to press. The Watch Dogs game is going to be around about £252, so you're looking at about a £12 increase. Now obviously with the game, obviously that makes it that it's not free, but it does certainly make it a very cheap option if you are interested in the game itself. Maybe it could even be a cheeky way for you to make a few quid on eBay, because it does come with a serial and you could obviously get rid of it if you were thinking about it that way. But if you're not fussed about the game and you're really not bothered about it, then obviously you can get it without. What we are going to be doing is having a look at the box and all the stuff inside. Then I will give you a good look around the motherboard itself, including, for all those nerd porn S guys out there, or whatever the term is that we want to use for it, I am going to get it naked and we're going to take the armour off. And I have to film it back to front because it's actually built at the moment. I have to strip it just to show you that bit, but it will come before that. We'll take the armour off and we'll have a good look underneath. And then we're going to go into the BIOS and stuff. But if you want to look at any of the comparisons for performance and stuff like that, one of the things I would say to you is just click the link to go to the main review on the website, because that's where all of the the in-depth comparisons and stuff are going to be coming from. Today we're going to be concentrating on things like overclocking, actual use of the board, the layout, and how that can affect things, looking at the water cooling side of things and stuff like that. Still going to be a fairly lengthy review though, so make sure you do get comfy. Either get yourself some cold drinks and some snacks, or maybe go and get your big mug out with your OC 3D logo on it. No, we're not selling them before anyone goes. I'm not into bloody trying to make a few quid off your ass. I would just personally go and get a normal mug and draw an ugly man's face on it, and you can just imagine it's me. But anyway, so yeah, get yourself ready for a long one. Like I said, we're going to have a good look round it, BIOS, all that shindangango, and then a nice big meaty conclusion at the end. But I'm going to grab my trusty remote and we are going to move on. And there it is, in all of its glory. But anyway, before we get going, having a look around the board, nice and up close, all dirty like, and definitely before we get the old girl naked, let me just show you this slide. Because when we look at the slide, it gives you the full rundown on all the parts and components and all the bits around the outside. So if we start in the top right hand corner, you can see we've got the overclock zone, start button, memo K button, reset button, and the probe it bits. Then we've got the Extreme Engine Digi 3, 100K black metallic caps, 60 amp Blackwing chokes, NEXFET MOSFETs, up to 3300 megahertz on your memory, although you're going to need a CPU with the IMC, internal memory controller, that can cope with it. And then also you're going to need the actual memory as well. We've got 8 times USB 3, 2 on board and then 6 at the back, 6 USB 2, 4 on board, 2 at the back. We've also got 10 SATA gigabits second ports, and that's the 6 normal ones, and then you've got the 4 in the SATA Express, or you can have 6 normal ones and then 2 full-on SATA Express ports. That could become very useful as the SATA Express becomes more mainstream and we get more products. And we've got Keybot, Direct Key, XMP buttons, CPU level up buttons. XMP, yeah, I can understand for the beginners why you may possibly want that, but to be honest with you, you should be doing it manually. CPU level up, you should be overclocking manually as well. The Supreme FX on the formula for 2014, because it just says that in that corner, but anyway, we've got the Supreme FX shielding technology, Cirrus Logic CS498 DAC, WIMA, WIMA film capacitors, Texas Instruments LM4562 amp, ELNA premium audio caps, and then you've got the Sonic Soundstage, Sonic Sense amp, and Sonic Studio features and buttons. The one thing on this that I do see is wrong is the 2 PCI Express 3x16 slots and then 1 PCI Express 2x16 slot. And the reason why I say that's wrong is because they're all 16 in length. That's pretty simple. These are all PCI Express 1 but PCI Express 2 bandwidth. Very confusing, but anyway. But when we look at the two underneath, we can see that they're only 8 times wired. You can see the pins come up to here, and they're both like that. So these are PCI Express 3 8 times, and that's PCI Express 3 16 times. So you actually get PCI Express 3 16 times 1, and then you get PCI Express 8 times 2. So it is very confusing. It's just a typo on their PDF. But I do love the look of this. Anyway, right. So we did want a good look around. I have done this in a video already, but we do have the... There we go. Can I get it? Yes, we have. Can. We have got the new copper internals on this. I go into this in depth in the conclusion because obviously I'm filming this bit afterwards because I've taken the rig apart. But this is a hard anodized aluminium that is the black, and then you've got the copper inside. You do not need to worry about the copper in the alley because it's anodized, it's coated, it's done, it's fine. You can chill out. And to be honest with you, with some of the anti-corrosive stuff in coolants and stuff as well, it's really not an issue anymore. If it was bare aluminium, yes, we would be talking about galvanic corrosion, but we're not. It's a properly high quality hard anodise, and there's no bare alley in there at all, so you don't need to worry. It's all gravy. Now, as we're looking around, you can obviously see all of these lovely bits that we've just looked at in the PDF. Oh, not the camera. You can see the nice shroud around the back as well. It is the plastic that's all part of the shielding, which we're going to take off in a minute just to show you. But it does look the part. But again, when you keep seeing these cutouts, I can't help but think that that might have been nice to have had like a red glow inside. Or because these parts are red, if you were to put red LEDs next to these, which is why I always say about choosing your lighting for your rigs carefully, if you put a red LED right next to the red slot, the colours will just bleach. Whereas if you use a white LED in near this slot, it will bring the red out and make it pop. So, you know, it might have been nice to have had a couple of select LEDs around, even if we could turn them off in the BIOS, just so that we had that chance. Obviously around the back we've got that armour, which is such a feature. It's almost a shame that we've not got windows on the back of our cases as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bust all these screws off, I'm going to buzz them all out, and then we're going for some nerd porn, 18 plus warning, all that type of stuff, and we're going to take a look at the old girl without her clothes on. Okay, so just quickly, just to tease you a little bit more, just before we get naked, it does, or we get naked, it gets naked, it does come with the M-PCIe combo, and this is where your wireless and everything is built into, which comes up into this top right hand corner. It's also where the M.2 slot is built into. Now, I've only got one M.2, and that's the Plexter, and it's 80mm long. You can get 40 and 60mm longs as well, but all of the high capacity fast ones are going to be the 80mm long ones more than likely. This is a 256. They go up to like 512 as well, but the 256 is like 165 quid. So it's not stupidly expensive. So I'm kind of expecting this length to become a norm. But the problem is because of that length, it fits in, it all nestles in lovely. You don't have to screw it in, it just pushes in. And it is actually really tight. I'm not even going to attempt to try and get it out, but it does mean because of that length, you can't fit it on the board. So this pretty much, the longer M.2s are pretty much, you can't use them at all, and that's going to be where all the big capacity fast ones are going to be living as well, unless things change and we end up with ridiculously high density chips being able to be fitted on them. But it's horrifically limiting. So it's just another reason with something like this. For me, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't even bother fitting it. It would just be in the box and it wouldn't get used. I don't like the wireless. I always end up using home plugs and then using the Ethernet. And because of the, I can't use the M.2, it means then I've either got to use normal solid state drives, maybe RAID, or using the SATA Express ports, which are around the back here. So we could end up using those instead. But now, enough teasing, I think it's time for us to move on to the nerd porn. Okay then, peeps. So, it's all off. You can actually see that the red LED bit is actually built into this, or at least it's part of the shroud. So the red LEDs are just mounted to the board. It's not like a heat sink there or anything. You can see all the cutouts. It's all really pretty simple, really, when you think about it. And then when we move that to one side, we can have a look at the rear bracing, or the, you know, whatever you want to call it really. It does have some thermal tape on, and you can see that there's MOSFET, so it does actually help with cooling, which is probably part of the reason why they've got it there. But I have spoken to Asus, and it's been confirmed that you can customize. I spoke to the rep and he said it was fine with the last one. It's going to be fine with this one. If you do want to paint this, you can do, as long as it gets removed and you do it properly and you don't spray the board. The warranty is for the motherboard itself, and if you had customized this, you could remove it and the back and just send the motherboard to be RMA'd, should you be that unlucky. But yes, if you wanted to paint this, wrap it with carbon fibre, have it dipped, hydrographics, whatever you want, you could get that done and it won't affect your warranty. So, but we'll move those to one side, and then, dun dun dun, she's naked! Yes, I have left the heat sinks on. I didn't want to strip all those down. I just wanted to give you a good look around, so that you can see what's underneath the armour. Let's have a look and see what that says there. It's talking about the SATA Express. I wondered what it was. I was just being nosy. Obviously we can see our the LED section will be here. I'm trying to see where they light up. But this is where the LEDs will be lighting up the back of the back plate. You know, where it says Republic of Gamers, and it looked like it should have been a heatsink. Well, this is the area. There they are. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm struggling to look at the camera and struggling to look at what I'm doing at the same time. I'm a man after all. I can't do too many things at once. We can see the enormous mounts for it all, though. They're huge. But yes, that is our nudity. If we flip it over, I'll show you. These are the parts that were being assisted with the cooling on the back plate side of things. That would have been, the back plate would have ended up being like a large heatsink to help keep those cool. But again, you can see the mounts that go through the board, and there are still the plastic standoffs still on it. But yes, that's our nudity. Now I have to put everything back together, take my CPU out, get everything cleaned up, and get it back in the box. No! Okay then, peeps, so a look at the built rig that we're going to be using for the video. You've obviously got the Maximus 7 formula there. We've got a H105 there for cooling. We've got 16GB of 2400 megahertz Corsair Vengeance Pro, although we do or we have been using some 2933 to see whether the board can easily get up to those kind of speeds. We've got a 240GB GTX Neutron. In the video, for the just display purposes really, we're using the Asus GTX 780 Ti Matrix, although I have adapted the BIOS and downclocked it to normal 780 Ti speeds, although we do test when we do the when we do the reviews, I'm just going through boxes behind so that I can grab it. We do use the standard GTX 780 Ti. But obviously, Asus review, black and red, in a nice tarty case. We've used a nice tarty graphics card, but there is nothing between them, just so that people are fully aware. Anyway, so yes, we've got that in there. It's all in the Corsair the Air 540. And before people start asking, because it seems to happen every time, the power supply is in the back section. If you've not seen the 540 Air before, please go and have a look on the OC3D TV channel, and then look up my review for the 540. Right, so that is all of the gubbins. That's the pretty looky side of it, all done and dusted. Now it's time for us to move on and start talking about stuff in the BIOS. Okay then peeps, so we are in the BIOS. Now I've got this all at stock, and for the eagle-eyed among you, you will notice that I'm running the 4770K. Now the reason why I'm running the 4770K is I have an amazing 4770K, and the difference between the 4770K and the 4790K is just thermals. So the fact that I've got a 4770K that can do 4.9 gigahertz at 1.26 volts, but then my 4790K, although it's cooler, requires 1.35 volts and will only do 4.8. I'm going to continue abusing the 4770K just because it actually does pick out some nice differences between motherboards a lot better. So yeah, we're going to go with the one that looks a little bit better, really. Right, now, BIOS is very similar to, if you're used to the Z87 or the Z97 stuff, then as far as ROG's concerned, it's all very, very similar. There's only one real thing that I'd like Asus to change, and that's if we go down to the V core. Now you can see it's on 1.28 volt, but it's just, all I've done is I had my settings in the in here saved, and I've just refreshed them to get everything out of the way. But what I want to show you is if I go to 1.26, so I'm putting that in and we go enter. Now you can see it's gone up a little bit. If I go down, then it goes down to just below 1.26. Next one up is a little bit over. And the increment seems to be quite large, and it doesn't give us a straight instant, you know, like a 1.26 for example. It's always a little above or a little below, and this seems like a much bigger step than where we've been used to with some of the Asus BIOSes previously. Obviously I've tested pretty much all of them, so this is something on this one seems to have a lot larger step than the ones that we've had before. Beyond this point, there's everything that you could possibly want in the Digi Plus. We've got CPU load line calibration. I have to admit, when I did my review, I actually left that on auto, and it didn't boost the voltage up past anything, and it also didn't drop down below. Don't forget, if you're considering using, or that you need to change this, then when you do it, what you need to do is go to your desktop, open CPU-Z, and you can see the V core. If when you put it under load, so with Intel Burn Test or OCCT, if your voltage drops a lot, then you need to change the load line calibration, because that's all that does, is it keeps the voltage stable. If it goes from 1.26 down to 1.259, or it's 1.259 when you first get into the desktop and it doesn't move there on out, I would leave the load line calibration alone, because motherboard manufacturers are tuning the need for load line calibration out altogether. With some manufacturers, it's not even there anymore. So don't touch that unless it actually needs to be done. I always do seem to, if you're going to be going for huge overclocks, I always do seem to put the power duty control on extreme. And sometimes with the Asus boards, they've got so good now, you don't really need to dick around with a lot of the other stuff in here, unless you're 8-pack and you're trying to bust some world records and you're going to be sat there for ages setting stuff up. For those of us out there that are going to be going up to about 1.3 volts tops with our CPUs and are going to be trying to get kind of like 4.8 gigahertz, there and thereabouts. A lot of the time you don't need to dick around in here very much at all. Sometimes tweaking stuff too much can cause things to become unstable rather than more stable, just to kind of give you an idea here. But what we'll do is we'll come back out of that, we'll zoom out a little bit more so we can see all of the monitor. So when we go down through, you can see we've got a lot of voltages and stuff. DRAM, PCH, which is obviously your chipset voltage, and then your PCH, which is the I/O voltage. So it's like the 1.5 volt kind of PCI Express kind of voltage. But anyway, I'm not going to go through and explain all of them, because the reason why I'm saying all of this is because a lot of it actually comes up at the bottom, and this is another plus point with a lot of the ROG stuff, is that when you do get down to the nitty-gritty of doing stuff, it does actually tell you what it's for. So if you're having problems getting like a super high memory set up, for example, you can go down through these and work out what you may need to change. Obviously don't go cranking the volts up just straight off the bat and you don't really know. Work through, be a bit like Spock, do it logically, do it in steps, take some notes, and you'll be surprised how much you'll end up learning about your system in the long run. I do really need to sort all this out in a proper little guide, don't I? Yes, boys and girls, yes, I do. But anyway, so that's the like the nitty-gritty side of the BIOS concern. We've got the configuration stuff as well that we do. We've got onboard devices. Again, if you want to enable your M2, you have to, no you don't with this one. Oh, I didn't realise that. How much of a genius am I not today? You do have your Wi-Fi controller that you can enable or disenable, that's up there. You've got all your bits and bobs that you can go through. It's all lovely, lovely, lovely. The Q fan control up here can be quite handy if you're using onboard fans. I still don't really. It's not something I particularly do. The graphics card rig, I've got the Asus front base in, but I don't generally see, I'm a set it up and leave it alone type of guy. I don't actually have them, the fan speeds changing at all. Mine are generally running as quiet as they can be all the time. But anyway, so you have those options. You've got your monitor options where you can go in here and you can change your fan speed control. You've got options in there that you can go in and change. Fan speed monitor, obviously I've not got any connected because I never do. You can go in and check your voltage and your temperatures. That's all lovely bubbly really. We can't really, there we go, there's the voltages, although don't take any notice of those because they're just cleared, and I haven't cleared the BIOS properly. I certainly haven't been putting 1.28 volts through my CPU considering it's running at stock. But also, and this is something that I think all of you should get into the habit of, is your BIOS profiles. I normally end up having a stock manually set BIOS. So it will be, for argument's sake, stock voltages where I manually set everything, so it's just an easy one that you can go into and you know it's going to work, but you actually save it, so it's the tweaked stuff and not just it's not just an F5, because if you hit F5 you can load optimized defaults. It's not optimized defaults, it's your own manual stock settings that you've saved in. Then I normally have a safe overclock. Especially if I'm using like a new CPU or a new board, I'll go in and I'll have something like a 4.6 or a 4.8 gigahertz overclock, which is rock solid. And then I try pushing beyond that point, and then you go for your silly overclock. But I've been doing 4.9 gigahertz overclocks on this CPU for so long, I can practically do them in my sleep. So that's why we've only got that there. But for you as a newcomer with a new CPU, building a new rig, new parts, or new motherboard or something, get into the habit of saving those, because then if you push too far and you tweak your memory a bit too much, or you try pushing one bit up too far, or even sometimes you can put one of the voltages up too much and it can make everything go completely bandy. You can clear your BIOS, come back to the overclocking profile, save what's known as save one of your safe profiles in, and then boom, you're up and running again, and you don't have to sit there for 10 minutes while you're trying to tune everything out. But now, let's go and have a look at the performance of this thing once you have put the time in to tweak all your voltages and your BIOS and everything in. Okay then peeps, so overclocking. First of all, one of the things I said to you when we were talking about in the BIOS about the difference between 1.259 and 1.262, as you can see here, it's reading it as 1.263 volts, and if you put it down a notch, it reads at 1.259 volts. I can get it running at 4.9 gigahertz at 1.259. It's not a problem. It was just something that I wanted to bring up about, you know, it seems like quite a large step. But anyway, we can get 5 gigahertz. It's semi-stable, it's not 100% stable, so it's not the type of stable that we're happy with to run as a bench overclock. So we can get 5 at that. When we drop it back down to the 49, not only can we get 2933 memory, but we can also adjust the cache up to a maximum of about 4500. We do still have to play around with some of the other voltages in the BIOS, not only to keep the memory at that kind of speed and the cache running so fast. So you do have to go in and tweak about. But the fact that we can even get them stable at such ridiculously high speeds just goes to show you you know, how stable and well sorted the BIOS and all the features and stuff are on the board. Now we do run all of our benchmarks at 2400 megahertz as far as memory speeds are concerned, and that's just more for consistency than anything else, because it helps us try and pick between the boards. But anyway, so that is what we managed to do with that. Here is our 5 gig with the 2933 and the 4.5 in place. But like I said, this wasn't 100% bench stable. It was a bit wobbly. It was strangely, it didn't like 3D Mark 11. And I can't remember the other one that it kept crashing on. There was one of the other benchmarks we do anyway. Oh, it was PC Mark Vantage. At one point in PC Mark Vantage, it would fall over. Most of the other stuff was fine, but where we couldn't get them all 100% stable, we dropped back to 4.9, played around with a few of the voltages again, and we were off. We were away with the fairies. But anyway, yes, so it is very capable in that sense. Don't forget, when it comes to things like your cache, which is being read as North Bridge frequency, and your memory frequency, that's all very much down to your ability in the BIOS. But most importantly, your CPU. Very, very important, as it's a big silicon lottery thing. Some of the 4770Ks won't do 2933 for love nor money, no matter what you pump through them. And they don't have to either. So just keep that in mind. It's a very, very expensive, properly high-end frequency anyway. I don't know many people that are running 2933 on a 24/7 daily driver. Okay then peeps, so one of the benchmarks that we can run that's quite graphical and it gives you a nice readout as well is Cinebench. And yes, we are still running 11.5, but for the older kind of like less stupid amounts of cores on stuff, this one's perfectly fine. Now I've already run it, but we can run it again. We got a 10.67. But when we run it, it obviously gives us a nice graphical way of everything kind of working its way around. Don't forget, we are running an overclock on this. It's at 4.9 gigahertz. 2400 megahertz memory, but if you do want to go and have a look at how this compares with other boards and the other overclocks and other CPUs and stuff that we've done previously, then please click the link to follow through to the Overclock 3D website, where you can see all of those in lovely graphs and stuff like that. But this is nearly finished. It's speeding up towards the end. It's like the final straight. And there we are. Actually, that one got a slightly better score. That one's 10.76 rather than 10.67. But anyway. Right, so we've got a screenshot here from our Sleeping Dogs benchmark. Again, if you want to go and see the gaming stuff, you can go and have a look. Now, this was obviously with the standard GTX 780 Ti, and we also run it at 2560 by 1440. And you can see we've got an average of 49.9, maximum of 69.7, and then a minimum of 30. Obviously, we had the VSync off, as you would expect. Yeah, if you want to go and have a look at Tomb Raider and the other ones that we've done, click through to the link. But now it's time for us to have a conclusion. Okay then peeps, so moving on to the conclusion, And we're going to do as we always do, and we'll start with the award and then we'll work our way through everything. And we've decided to give it the OC3D Gold Award, and it was kind of a bit of a toss-up between Gold Award and the Performance Award, but we'll get down and dirty and do all the explanation side of things. Couple of negative points. I see the M.2 slot thing as being a bit pointless. Again, I'm just looking around trying to see where the bloody hell I've put it. It was up on the box. The M.2 thing, it's badly implemented. All of the big drives that really most of us are going to end up buying, the super quick ones with like decent amounts of memory on there, because let's face it, this one's 256 gigabyte and it's like 160 odd quid. So, you know, if you're thinking about buying this kind of board, you may even be looking for bigger ones. And if you end up doing that, you're going to end up having a long one, and then this is just rendered pointless. So personally, what I'm going to say is, as far as M.2 is for this, it's a little bit, don't really bother. I wouldn't want to have the wireless fitted either. I'm really personally not a fan of wireless. If you're, you know, that limited and you can't get it, that's your only option, then fair enough. But honestly, things like Netgear home plug adapters are brilliant. So I personally, if I had any choice in the matter and it was me, which is why I'm kind of telling you because you want to know about it, is I wouldn't even fit the wireless. I would just go straight in, get home plugs and use the Ethernet. So, you know, that is a nice thing, but, you know, it's not really that great. Also, as far as, you know, things in and around and stuff is concerned, I have to admit, I really do like the board. But I was left feeling like I wanted some lights in and around it. Where you've got the cover on the board itself, I thought, because with some of the other, like you get the little LEDs down the side by the audio and stuff like that, but I thought to myself, it'd be lovely, because on the Ranger you had that line of red in the heatsink, so maybe it would have been nice to have some red LEDs underneath it, but wherever all the slots are red, I would have said it would have been great with just a few select white ones maybe, to maybe highlight the heatsink or highlight, you know, certain parts of the board. It's just me being finicky. I'm just saying, you know, it could have added, you know, to that. Now the good thing with the Formula is the price hasn't really like sneaked up over the years. It's been the same sort of price for a long time, and what they've been doing is adding, you know, better audio on. We've now got the SATA Express, all right, we've got the M2, you know, and that's all nice positive bits moving forward. Something that a lot of people haven't been fully aware about as well is the fact that the Formula is the top of the range Republic of gamers. There will not be an Extreme. Now the Extreme generally performed, as far as the average user is concerned, exactly the same as the Formula anyway. It just had loads more bells and whistles for proper high-end, you know, like world record aiming overclockers. And it wasn't necessarily something that the most of us really needed. But for the average user, generally, it was a lot of stuff in the box like that fucking horrible overclock thing that nobody ever needed. And it allowed for 4-way SLI. It's triple SLI because we've only got 3 16 length PCI Express slots on there. And to be honest with you, I think that's more than enough. I'm personally a fan of, once you get to 2, I don't particularly think that you end up getting more negative points than positive points when it really comes down to it, because games get confused and you can end up putting that 4th card in, and say for example you can have a game that would run worse than if you just had 2 in. So it does get completely confusing, and let's face it, when you're buying a board like this, if you want 4 cards, you're going to probably end up having the money to be able to spend and go up to the 2011 socket or something like that anyway. But as far as the Formula is concerned, I'm a big fan of it, because I do like stuff that looks nice and it's pretty, and it does stay true to the black and red ROG branding. I would go as far as to say it's probably the prettiest looking of them. I really do like that armour. It does bring an air of kind of, you know, that it's, you know, that slightly higher end one. It also, when you think about it, there's no fans or anything on that. So when you think of like the armour on the Sabertooth and stuff, and people seem adamant that they must run those 40mm fans. Do you really? This one's the higher end one. It's got no active cooling underneath there at all. Don't particularly think that you need it. But anyway, As far as the cooling on the MOSFETs and stuff on this is concerned, with the last generation, there was a lot of fucking shouting about the fact that it was an alley block. Still is an alley block, and there's copper inside it as well. Now I know there's going to be people shouting at the screens about the aluminium and the copper touching. And if it was bare aluminium and the copper touching, then you would be completely within your rights to start worrying at least about galvanic corrosion. But Asus, it's not just you know, like a solid block or anything. It's actually several different pieces inside. And the way it works is Asus have done a hard anodize on the aluminium, and that is all you need to stop that galvanic corrosion. There are days gone by when we used to actually have aluminium reservoirs. I'm pretty sure there was a passive one made by XSPC, and where it was anodized, it was all right. The only time you get problems is generally when you've got bare aluminium and bare copper touching. With a lot of the high quality coolants that you can get nowadays that have got corrosion inhibitors and things like that built with them, even if you did have bare ali and bare copper in the same loop, you're probably not going to get any problems at all anyway. It's only generally if they come into contact, and then you do get that corrosion through, basically it's just a chemical process. But a lot of the corrosion inhibitors can either stop or completely hold all that type of stuff at bay, as long as they are not in contact. So as far as this is concerned, with that inside that block, you're completely fine. You don't need to worry. With the older Maximus 6, I know people that had just the block with copper barbs and stuff on it, just pumping normal tap water around, and there wasn't any sign of galvanic corrosion at all. So it's just, generally it's like one of those things online where you get, it's almost like the bloke at the end of the bar, where the theory in itself is correct, but because of lack of all of the information and a few details, they end up going off on such a tangent where, you know, as far as the basics is concerned, with other applications it's perfectly correct. But when you add in things as with this, like with the coolant and the anodizing and all those type of things, they drastically change the outcome. So that's just to clear that bit up. You don't have to worry about the water cooling side of it. And as we've kind of shown, it's more than happy to run air. If you do want to chuck water into it to keep things a little bit cooler, I'm not going to say that it's particularly going to affect your overclocks. May certainly help keep, not necessarily stability, but maybe the component lifespan may get extended a little bit. But let's face it, when it comes to water cooling, all we really give a shit about is the looks. And because that we can add the barbs in, and it's all not been nicely done, and it's really, you know, it's been put together quite well with the armour, you can really make a feature of it. Just remember, think about the angled barbs and stuff when you're going to be building your rig, and decide, you know, which way round you're going to go. Think about it. Don't just smash them in and, you know, ruin it. Take your time. Water cooling is mainly about the looks, and it's something that people, beginners specifically, seem to over fuss about certain things, and it really isn't going to get you anywhere. So just think about things a little bit more first. So we've done that. We've talked about the Epic audio. We've talked about the water cooling. We've talked about the cover. Essentially, as far as I'm personally concerned, the formula isn't going to be for those of you out there that are going to be worried about spending the extra money between, for argument's sake, the Hero to step up to this. Because the performance with the boards is actually probably going to be, as far as, you know, CPU specific or graphics card specific stuff, is going to be nigh on identical. And that's not really what they're about. This is about, you've got you've got the water cooling, you've got that armor, even though it doesn't work out to be massively expensive, you've got the better audio. It's all about the kind of presence, it's about the aesthetics, it's about the looks. Yes, you've got all the looks, but you've also got the performance to kind of back it up as well. So at the end of the day, it's almost like, and this is what I said in the written review, it's almost like going out with a supermodel, but she's also a member of Mensa as well. So it's not just about having some airhead that looks pretty and is, do you know what I mean, isn't really much good at anything else but standing there with a smile on her face, this one can actually back it up with some really, really good, strong numbers as well. And there's obviously a lot of features on it that you're going to want to play with. It's going to keep you happy for a long time, boys and girls. And another thing is there's obviously been an influx of black and red boards to late. I'm not going to go naming the brands or specific models or anything like that, but it seems to be everyone and their dad is just chucking red heat sinks at boards, and some of them have been done just, they just don't look nice. It's blatant kind of branding to just try and cash in on people wanting to get into that black and red market. And some of the really cheap ones are pretty bad. And to be honest with you, those ones, it's just kind of like by driving the price down, they're also driving the quality down as well, and you don't necessarily get to see it. Some of the red heat sinks I've seen, and I have reviewed one as well, they fucking look terrible, and it was just like, why have you done this? Whereas this is completely the opposite end of the spectrum. This is black and red done, but it's done right. It's almost like the difference between, for argument's sake, going down your local greasy spoon and having just a normal kind of like fried egg on toast, and then nipping around the corner, paying a couple of quid extra and getting eggs Benedict. The difference between those two is two completely different camps. The people that want the fried egg will bitch and moan that it's still fucking egg on toast, and why should they pay any extra? But to be honest with you, they're never going to have wanted or going to enjoy the eggs Benedict anyway. The people that want the eggs Benedict understand why they're going to be paying a couple of quid extra. They understand that they're going to get better service. They understand that they're going to get clean knives and forks. And they also understand that it's just going to be an all-round better experience. It's going to look nice on a plate, it's going to taste nicer and have better quality bits in it. That is pretty much the difference between a cheap £100 black and red thing that you can get from one of the other brands, you know, and they've literally just added horrible red heat sinks on it, and the difference between when you step up to something like this. Tiny Tom Logan, the king of analogies. I managed to get fried eggs and egg Benedict in a review about a motherboard. How the fucking hell did I manage that? Anyway, that is why we gave it the OC 3D Gold Award. And the only reason why we were dithering about the performance was because of the fact it's going to be coming in at around 240 quid. But when I kind of sat down and weighed it all up, and more importantly than anything else, I actually thought about the people that are going to be considering buying this. Anyone that's honestly considering buying this with their hard earned will know why you need to pay 30 or 40 quid more than some of the other ones that are out there, because you know what you're buying into. People that will bitch and moan about it either can't afford it or don't understand that if they spent another week or two working a little bit harder, they could actually get it. And they're just crying because they haven't worked it out. So I think the real big thing with something like this comes down to, you know, if you can't necessarily afford this one, you really, really want it, then just work that little bit harder or something and wait for it. If it really does come down to you have to cut that money down, then you've still got the value of the Hero and the Ranger to think about. But I properly do think that it's two very separate camps, because this is going to be someone that's got a 4770K in it and or a 4790, big graphics cards. It's going to be the people that have worked hard or have more disposable money at hand, and they're only coming to me to make sure that we're not dealing with a proper dog. It's 100% not a dog. It's brilliant, it's lovely, awesome! But anyway, I'm going to be quiet now because I've spent far too long on the conclusion already. I hope your tea, your coffee or your snacks has lasted till the end. But for now, with the Gold Award winning Asus Maximus 7 formula, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out. Ding! I did it too soon. Out. Ding! There we go, timing.